And we should be recording. Okay, well, thank you so much for being with us here today. Marlo Brooks, here to discuss some civic engagement, encouraging voter engagement. This is, as much as we've been on a lot of discussions together, probably the first time we've had a one-on-one discussion. So I want to go ahead and hand it over to you. Just tell us a little bit about your experience. There is a reason why I wanted you to talk to all of us and our students about civic engagement. So if you would, go ahead.
All right, perfect. Well, as many of you know, I am Marlo Brooks, a senior studying English at CSUSB in the College of Arts and Letters, and have future aspirations of becoming a university president. And also I'm involved in politics, local politics here in San Bernardino. I'm a father of one and another on the way soon. So that's very exciting. Yeah. And, yeah, that's pretty much me so far as an active student.
So Marlo Brooks, very active student, very active in the community locally. I myself got a little into the local political scene. We had on actually the founder of COPE, who's really involved with the local scene, and they're really pushing that rethink safety, rethink public safety. That is amazing. So I did want to talk a little bit about that and just about how important the vote is and how important it's going to be within our community, specifically in this election year. What do you think about that?
It's extremely important. What we see, what we have the chance to see here in San Bernardino for the first time is a strenuous amount of youth engagement when it comes to politics as well. And with that type of run, we have to take full advantage to show our youth that they can see themselves in these seats and become the leaders that our city needs and our community needs as well. As well as that, just the powerful notion of knowing that your vote matters, knowing that your community matters, knowing that your household matters, your family matters, and the quality of life surrounding your city, the level of education in your city, the amount of resources available to those educational institutions is extremely important. And when you vote, you're voting on these matters, whether it's school board, whether it's local politics, whether you're just voting in high school, you're talking about, who's going to be your class president. These type of things matter because these point makes the decisions that's based on your reflection of what you feel you need as a student or as a citizen or as a member of a community to succeed and to move forward, to prosper. So voting matters above and beyond.
No, that's definitely one of the things that I notice is very different about this election. I remember my first time around voting was during the 2016 elections, and I knew a lot of my peers who went into it sort of as a joke. A lot of us didn't feel like our vote mattered, and the results, I'm sure, made a lot of people feel confirmed in that notion. But it's so different this time around. Everybody seems to feel the urgency of what it means to vote, not just on the big platform for your president. Locally, I feel like is the first time that I, as an active voter, have ever heard anything as much as I have this election about how much my vote actually impacts my school, my healthcare, the streets that I drive on. I didn't know for a long time that my vote impacted how quickly probably that I could get a response from the fire department. So those are all really important points. I want to speak to you a little bit about encouraging students and in a way that they can see themselves in these seats. And I know you have a little bit more of a lived experience about that. So please tell us about that experience.
Of course. And just to unpack a little what you said just now, when we feel that our vote doesn't matter because we don't know what we're voting on. I guarantee if you educate yourself of who your running mates are, what they're voting on, what they stand for, what they're against, you'll be more inclined to make sure that your vote does matter. So educate yourself on what you're voting for, not the person, but what it's going to do for your community and what it's going to do for the future of your family as well. So always remind yourself of that. Don't just vote just because that's who my friends are voting for. That's who the media puts out the most. Really educate yourself on who you're voting for and why. So I just wanted to unpack that part itself. But as a student, as a community member, as a citizen, I found it extremely. It was just I felt like it was my duty to wake up and answer that call to support the people in my community, the students I sit in class with each day, the students who have not yet even thought about college. I felt it was my duty to answer that call and enlighten them on what their futures can be. So with someone that's truly championing what it means to live in a community, what it means to achieve higher education, what it means to have just somewhere to go in your community that's safe for you and your friends to grow up in and have fun around. You know, it's too many dangerous areas. Um, it's too many things that are going on in the world and in the community itself. And I always tie myself back to the community because it's more immediate. You know, we could talk about what's going on in the world, but there's many things that's going on in our community that the world doesn't know about. We need to make effective change right here, right now, so that the world can maybe benefit from the changes that we make here and maybe use this as a stepping stool to encounter or to incorporate what we do here in our community across the nation. So I felt these type of things were very important. I, as a student, I came into the university um, ready for education, ready to soak up not just the school part of it, but if you're truly achieving your degree, to soak up every opportunity and resource that comes with that as well. So um, it could be anything from going to a museum and anything from attending a theatrical play. All these different things that I never saw myself in, I took a full advantage of making sure that I attended all these different events and just encountering different people and really hearing the calls of wow, there's just so many people that you can meet. There's so many things that's going on with so many different people, and you have a ear and a voice to make those changes necessary for those people to live prosperous. I found myself in that hot seat and I went for it. No matter the status, no matter if I was a student, no matter if I was 20 years old, there's no holds on you for running to champion your community. Just being of age, 18 and older, and full of heart, full of vital signs, and ready to lift your community. That's all you need.
That is, you were how old again when you ended up doing
When
this?
I ran for city council, I was 34 years old.
And a full-time student at
Um,
that, and it's not something that we ever really see as attainable. Some people are
yeah,
avoiding internships specifically because they're so overloaded with school, but it's it's something that's that important that you would have to, you know, sometimes prioritize your community to even change the circumstance of what it's like to be in school and be that swamped.
right,
Um,
right.
but as far as it being uh, more immediate in the local level, I completely agree. And I didn't realize how immediate our engagement is in the local level until I had an internship. And in my internship, one of the first things that they taught us about was logging constituents and their comments and basically what they have to say, their opinion about what's going on, whatever bill is up for debate at the moment. And it's just logging them, and they really do pay attention to what the community members are saying. But the part where it might trip up is that there are people who, like myself, before even coming to that job, a good amount of people who don't know that they can just call into that person who is in that office seat and they can tell them what they want. And by all means, if a lot of people are saying the same things, they're going to want to appease the community. They're going to want to do what's best for the community. So what was your experience, I guess? What for you really helped you believe that you would be impactful in your community? And what can we do to put that belief in people more commonly?
For mine, it's a little unique. I'm not from California.
Right.
I'm from Florida. And I felt that the tools that I gained as a student and as a member of my community, the tools that I gained as far as my leadership skills and just my responsibility level, all the things that I gained when I moved here to California, it was time for me to pay those things back. Things that I couldn't do for my own community, I wanted to stand up for my new community and do so. San Bernardino went through something that most cities have not, and that's an actual bankruptcy. So that's a starting from the bottom, really building the city back up, really building the city back up. And many citizens will argue that the city has never really came out of that bankruptcy, even though, on paper we have survived that bankruptcy, but a lot of businesses suffer. Um, we lost a lot of police officers, a lot of firefighters, many fire stations shut down, many police substations shut down. So when you look at the National Crime Report and you see San Bernardino as the top three most dangerous cities in the nation, you take all these different things into accord. You take all these different aspects and you say, wow, like we suffered, and the nation would never know that. They would only say that, oh wow, I'll never go to San Bernardino. They would never know that we suffered a lot, but we've been through a lot as well. The city itself been through a lot, from terrorism from bankruptcy to crime to the level of homelessness. We're going through a lot as well. So with all these different aspects, with what we've been through and what we're going through, I want to know, I want to see, and I want to prove where we can go, what we can achieve, and how we can make sure that these things don't happen again. How can we make sure our city doesn't suffer bankruptcy and many businesses, long-term businesses going out of business, families having nowhere to take their grandkids and their kids out for a nice stroll in the park or a nice concert that comes to the city where the quality of life is so great that we have a great time. Many people who work in San Bernardino and live in San Bernardino often spend their money in another city or state.
Mm-hmm.
How can we change that? How can we increase the economy? So all these things flowing through my mind, as well as being educated on the daily. So I'm achieving all of these different great heights. I knew it was time for me to answer that call. I have spoken to a lot of people, my mentors. They stood behind me and warned me about my workload, making sure I don't burn myself out. But I assured them that this was a goal that I was willing to risk. Like I would wait until my senior year, approaching graduation, and take on this huge responsibility, this huge role, not only for my community, but being the first student at CSUSB to actually run for office. That's a huge accomplishment.
That's amazing.
And I couldn't do it without the support of my school, the support of my colleagues, my mentors, my peers, my organizations I'm involved in. ASI was a huge part of that. These different components all just ignited me, and I was just a vessel. And I told them all the time on my campaign, I'm just a vessel. I'm here to hear your needs and apply those and make sure that we survive together.
That's, first of all, amazing to be the first ever student at our campus to do something so brave. Honestly, that's bold, really bold. And to me, it just really highlights, your story really highlights the importance of the entire community, because from what it sounds like, you had a lot of work and a lot of effort put into it, but at some point it became just the support of everybody around you. And I just hope we can get that message across to students that, you know, as much as you want it to be the right person in the right seat, that it doesn't happen without all of the students, all of the community members, all the business owners, everybody in the community.
Right.
Um,
It's
but
very important to not shy away from those roles and responsibilities. Oftentimes, what you see in college, and this is too often, I might add, is that when attending a four-year university, many students coming in as a freshman don't really find their way around the campus until their senior year when it's too late to, not really too late, but you really missed out on great years
mhm.
and now you're ready to be a part of and things like that. And I hear this from the student. This is an accusation. This is what I hear from my peers that are seniors, and they say, "Wow, I want to get involved. What do I got to do? What meetings I want to go to? I should have been doing this when I first got here. I don't know what took me so long to come out of my shell." Do not shy away from those roles of responsibility and leadership. Never. Um, always. It's one thing that I live by is that I want to belong in every conversation. I feel that I should belong in
Love
every.
that. Wow.
I got to educate myself on everything. Many of us, especially when going to college, this isn't. This is just by default. If it really doesn't pertain to your degree, you don't really get the full. You don't give it the full focus. You know, if I'm going to school for nursing, and I'm in a Latino writing class, a Latino writers class, I'm not really paying attention to Latino writers when I got so much focus on my nursing classes that I really need to put my effort into. So just by default, that's the attitude that we go into college with. I decided to rewrite that script and make sure I soak up as much as the in class as I do as outside of class. The things
Mhm.
that's going on around campus, the different meetings, organizations, events, all these different components of college, I wanted to soak all of that up. And I encourage other students to do the same thing. That when you get out there in the work world, you're not going to be working with people that look just like you. You're going to be working with all types of people, building great teamships, great teams, and partnerships with many different colleagues of yours from different backgrounds. So I encourage you to entrench yourself with other ethnicities, to learn those different backgrounds, to make those things happen. Those challenges, those barriers will be so much more. Um, you'll be so much able to strive for them because you won't have anything holding you back. You'll be so comfortable with other people. When you get to college, another great aspect about the classroom is that the teacher forces you into group projects. Something that you never,
Yes.
everybody hates group projects, to lean on someone else, your grade depends on it. So strengthening your partnership, that's what that's about because you're going to have to take that component and that technique out into the career world. So again, college, really, you truly find yourself and what you're capable of when you're achieving higher education. And I took those tools that I mentioned earlier. I gained all those tools, and I felt like I was ready to apply them to the world. So I
I
encourage.
I appreciate so much the advice, the encouragement. Honestly, motivational. I'm gonna put it into work as soon as I get off of here. But I specifically want to touch on you speaking about people being shy about approaching leadership roles, and then also even that extending to not wanting to branch out of their specific field. I feel like there's something of a safety in feeling like you understand this and this is what I'm studying and this is what I want to stick with. And maybe that even transfers over to the way that we engage civically. I understand that a lot of people feel like they don't know much about politics, they don't know much about the local scene, and so they don't feel like they have the confidence to even cast a vote about what would happen. Or maybe they cast a vote and they didn't do their research and now they've impacted the city. Um, so how would you speak to those students who are grappling with that?
Nothing's done overnight. Also,
Right.
um, moving to California, knowing that I want to call this home, knowing that I really have to put my foot down, really have to understand the history of where I'm now living. That's the only way you can apply your, your sight into what you feel the community needs and the future of this economy as well. Is you have to learn the history of it. Also, you have to know what sides of town are more crime stricken. What's the population of homelessness? You have to know these things. Um, how does the city budget look? Who's in charge? What's the mayor's ideas? And the mayor's backed by a city councilman. How many city councilmen are in your city? It's not the same amount for every city. How many city councilmen sit on the the seat for your city? So learn these things, and it could be simply questions or simply with that little computer you walk around with in your hand every day. Just learn these different things about your community and the city that you call home, and I guarantee you everything else will start to fall in place. As far as the roads, the street lights, the response time for first responders, um, safety measures in case a catastrophic disaster happened. These type of things you want to know because you want to be able to tell your neighbor. Another thing we're shy about is who lives next to us.
Mhm.
I don't know that many people that know who their neighbors are. They just know their household. They pull up in their yard, they go in their house. But when we talk about disaster relief and things like that, and I for one feel that San Bernardino isn't ready for a major disaster. So how can I prepare my neighbors in my community for a major disaster? How about we come up with a community plan where we pass out flashlights and canned goods and blankets to everyone, provide them to everyone on the block, and that trickles over to the next block, and that trickles over to the next block. Just different things where you don't have to wait for the government to come in and save you and your community when you are the community. You and your neighbors are the community. Your family, you are the community. You guys come up with a plan that's best for your community, and I guarantee you, the city will will hear it and reach out and want to be a part of that. So we can't always wait for our presidents or our principals to make a move for the students when the students have the biggest voice of all.
You really actually just touched on to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which was, reaching out to people who aren't as involved in the conversation. Having a quality that you expressed about wanting to be in every conversation is so important. I think it's so important to cultivate that in the college setting where you have it so available to you, but also having that access, we then are responsible for, sharing that information with anybody who hasn't been able to access it. Um, and I know that accessibility has been a big problem as far as being able to vote, as far as having your voice heard in your community at all. And I feel like what you described is just the perfect way to combat that. And is there any accessibility issues that you faced when you were going through the whole circuit, and any accessibility issues that came up in communities that you ever reached out to?
Um, for myself, I think one thing that weighed on me a lot while running for office, and it didn't seem to matter to others, but to me it mattered a lot, was that I wasn't from here. So I always felt like an outsider speaking for a community that I had no business speaking for. When other people were so in love with, oh my God, Marlo, you're the man for this. We appreciate you. We thank you for stepping up to this plate. I always had this insecure feeling of, will I be rejected because I'm not from here? How dare I speak for a community that I wasn't raised in? So again, that's why it became so important for me to learn the history of my community, so that I wouldn't feel backed into a corner where am I the right person for this job? So for people that feel they don't have the accessibility to reach these type of leadership roles or responsibility roles or anything like that, it's literally yourself that can hold you back. We shy away from those things because we feel that we aren't ready. But I have this conversation with my friends all the time, is when we were younger and older people would say, you're going to be a doctor one day. You're going to be a great officer one day. And as a kid, you're like, yeah, yeah. I know my dad would always say, man, I can't wait till you guys graduate and join the military.
Mhm.
And that was always his vision for what we would do in the future. And mine was always education.
Right.
And my twin brother, he took on the role of joining the military after high school. I went to college after high school, and it's these things where we step away from these type of roles and responsibilities because we feel that we aren't ready for them. So in hindsight or in face of that, feeling like you're not ready, just step up to the plate. It sounds hard, but step up to the plate. Try it out. You know, it's easy to say it's not for me or I can't do it, but it's only easy to say it because you haven't tried it. So uh, join different organizations, meet different people. You know, just the people you went to high school with are always going to be your friends from high school. There's so much more of a world to get to know and relationships to build and just different opportunities to expand on that you gotta step outside of your comfort zone in these different moments. And college is meant, and it throws all those different things at you, but it's up to you to catch them as a student.
Well, as we're going to bring this to a close now, but thank you so much for coming on here, for just all of the wisdom that you had to drop. I really appreciate you pointing out the community aspect and the networking aspect of just making the place around you a better place, making the place around you a place that's fitted to you and your neighbors, and how the center of that is talking to your neighbor first and learning about them and learning about the place that you are in. And if you want to leave us with any parting words before we get out of here.
You know, I have to give you a major shout out.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough for thinking of me to be on your platform.
My first choice. I'm
So
serious.
I know it, and I don't know, I truly appreciate how my ability as a student waves off onto others and they actually see it. You know, oftentimes you can work as hard as you want, nobody really pays it attention. So the fact that what I've done, what I've accomplished as a student, I'm still a student. So that only means the sky's the limit. So I thank you. I thank ASI. I thank my alma mater, and Yodis for life.
Thank you so much, Marlo, and you have a great night. And thank you all to all the Yodis who are going to be watching. We appreciate y'all. Good night.